PayPal and Cash App alone are buying over 70% of the Bitcoin supply.
So guys, this is the part 2 of our previous episode, which was on why are we bullish on Bitcoin. Vishesh gave us multiple reasons and multiple happenings around Bitcoin from this year in the previous episode. In this episode that continues, he has a lot more examples, lot more news to share with you, and over to Vishesh.
So we talked about public companies, right? Now, next we have billionaire investors. Some of the most successful hedge fund managers, family offices are investing in Bitcoin. We have people like Paul Tudor Jones and Stanley Druckenmiller. These are two of the most successful hedge fund managers in the US, and they're billionaires. They've come out on national television and they've said that they believe that Bitcoin is better than gold, and they've put their money in Bitcoin. Now, all of these are validations. All of these are things, like you said, Davis, that when people hear these things, right? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when people were hearing JP Morgan saying Bitcoin is a scam, people were scared. Hey, I'm not going to put money if JP Morgan Chase says so. If there's such a successful bank says that, then I'm not going to put my money. Now that whole story has changed. Now, if we look at another news in terms of regulations, right? US government has allowed banks to custody cryptocurrencies. But what that means is like how gold, the banks used to custody gold. They would have vaults or lockers in which I can go buy gold and go and put it in my bank locker. That is called custodying gold. So just like that, now banks are allowed to custody cryptocurrency. So there is a lot of people that kept saying that, government will not allow Bitcoin. Governments are opening regulations to allow this thing to happen because this is an innovation that cannot be stopped and nobody wants to stop.
But by this, you do mean that now government are legitimizing this? So now if a government has, say the US government says that you can, use Bitcoin as custody, in a way what I understand is what they are saying is that Bitcoin is legal. If I understand this correctly.
Yeah. I mean, they've not exactly said that, but that is exactly what they mean. And you're right. That is how you read between the lines, and you understand that the reason why governments are doing this is because the genie is out of the bottle. They realize that this is a technology, this is a truly efficient technology. It is an innovation that cannot be stopped, right? An efficient technology and innovation just cannot be stopped. And if US government tries to ban it, China will still do it, Russia will still do it, and then they will beat them at their game. So it is in no government's interest to now try and stop this because somebody else will just go past them. So that's really why this is happening. And it's some of the other statistics. If you look at this year, right, banks to crypto payment settlement networks, the numbers here, they have increased over 5 times in the last 4 quarters. We have applications that are being built by startups for Bitcoin payments, rewards, lending and borrowing services. All these businesses are thriving, backed by some of the top venture capitalists in the country. Now, there is so much interest. There's so much activity happening around Bitcoin. Number of Bitcoin users, right? Number of Bitcoin users or wallet addresses that have increased. They are at an all-time high. They're even higher than that they were in 2017 when the price went to an all-time high. And, even after all this, we still have the number of Bitcoin users is comparable to the number of internet users in 1994. So again, I keep going back to that point, is to try and imagine that there is so much opportunity, so much coming, and this is just getting started. This is how early we are. We are in 2020 at a place where right now we have the best risk reward ratio of investing in Bitcoin. And I'll explain that, right? In 2008, the reward was obviously amazing, right? If you had invested like any money in Bitcoin, it would have gone up by 18,000 times. But imagine how much risk there was. We did not know whether this technology is good. We knew nothing about blockchain. We did not know whether governments will ban it. We did not know whether copying Bitcoin like it happened in 2017 would be a success or a failure. We did not know anything, but Bitcoin over these 12 years has hardened. It has become strong by going through all these tests, and it is now at a place where people feel more comfortable to all those risks. And with these US government and other governments also putting regulations around it that are legitimizing Bitcoin, that is basically making the reward or the risk diminish a lot more, but there is still a huge reward in front of us. So from a risk reward standpoint, today is a great time to buy Bitcoin because now you can make a smart choice. Back in 2008 you were making a speculative choice, you were taking a gamble. Yes, you could have made a lot more money, but you didn't know whether it's going to pass or fail. Today
So,
we know
so,
very
so in hindsight, that crash was actually good.
it was good.
It gives us a lot
You're
more,
absolutely right.
as an investor also it gives us lot more clarity to go back to that and see what is happening. But for Bitcoin in itself, it has probably amplified the acceptance, or the amplified the whole technology, amplified everything that Bitcoin stands for today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and another big news that I didn't mention was PayPal, right? Like, so PayPal is this payments company in the US, and this is a global payments company, and they're direct competitor to Square. So, yeah, actually, I should talk about Square also, right? So, Square, which Jack Dorsey's company, who put 10% of their treasury reserve into Bitcoin. Aside from that, they also last year started selling Bitcoin on their app. They have an app called Cash App. And in that app, you can do peer-to-peer payments. So if I want to send you some money, I don't have to send it to your bank account. I can just send it to your Cash App account. And it's quick and easy transfer of money. So that is the service, something similar to what PayPal does. They're a PayPal competitor. But one thing that they did differently is last year they started selling Bitcoin on their Cash App, and their revenues have gone through the roof. Square, or rather Cash App, their revenues in the last 1 year have grown 11 times. 11 times. I mean, who grows like at that rate? Between Q2 and Q3, Cash App's revenues from Bitcoin sales have doubled. So every quarter they're doubling. So they are going through crazy numbers. Now, other competitors notice this, and PayPal did. PayPal is the biggest player in this payment network services, it's the biggest global player. And they last month announced, and I wouldn't be shocked that they did it as a reaction to how successful a small company like Square is with selling Bitcoin, that PayPal just announced that they're going to sell Bitcoin and a few other cryptocurrencies on their applications because they want to join the party. They want to be able to make money from this huge opportunity, and they are so huge. PayPal has 330 million users worldwide. I mean, we can't even imagine the impact. And right now, that is actually happening. The result, a lot of people believe that the price of Bitcoin that is going up right now is because of the number of PayPal and Cash App users buying Bitcoin. Some statistics say that PayPal and Cash App alone are buying over 70% of the Bitcoin supply that is coming in. New Bitcoin that is being mined. Remember, we said 21 million Bitcoin only. So far, there are only 18.5 million Bitcoin out there in the world. The remaining is still to be generated, but it gets generated every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, the new Bitcoin that comes, 70% of that is purely being bought by PayPal and Cash App. So that's just two players. Imagine how scarce this is. So that's a big deal. And I would just sort of go back to Bitcoin versus gold. We've sort of established, right? Bitcoin is like gold, and we're talking about Bitcoin at least replacing or at least eating into the market share of gold as a store of wealth. And we'll talk more about this, but humor me for now and assume that it will, right? Like, just understand that it will, right? Now, just to give you a sense of the potential price and opportunity here, what is the potential? If Bitcoin is just going to play the role of store of wealth, Bitcoin today, the total market cap of Bitcoin is $350 billion. Gold is about $12 trillion. All the gold in the world is worth $12 trillion. So if Bitcoin were to just take about 10% of the market cap of gold, right? Just says, okay, gold can continue to be the store of wealth for 90% of the world, but for 10% of the world, not a very crazy number to expect, it becomes a store of value. That makes Bitcoin alone $1.2 trillion worth, right? The whole market cap. And so to go from $350 billion to $1.2 trillion means almost a 4x price, right? 4x the price. So from here alone, we are looking at 4 times price of Bitcoin going up. That is if it just captures 10% of the market of gold. And we haven't even gotten into the other use cases of Bitcoin, right? It can be the medium of exchange. It can be the unit of count. It can be the global reserve currency. It can be a global reserve asset. All those use cases we haven't even touched upon. If it only just does 10% of the store of value, it has that kind of potential. So the opportunity is huge. Another thing I think I want to talk about is like the gold comes under alternative assets, right? Like generally people like to put their money in alternative assets like private equity, hedge funds, real estate, infrastructure, natural resources, they generally use these alternatives to, basically diversify their risk, enhance their returns, get an income generation option, put money in something that is different from the conventional stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc. Now this market, according to a study, is in 2003 was about 6% of the global investable market. A global investable market is very large, meaning about $50 trillion or so, something like that. So this market was only in alternative investment was only about 6%. Now there are estimates that this market has grown to about 12% as of 2018, and it is expected to grow up to 24% as of 2025. So people are looking at investing more and more money out of those conventional sources and pumping it into alternative assets. And Bitcoin is going to be one of those alternative assets. So when we talk about gold as a $12 trillion asset, it is $12 trillion because people were only parking so much money in gold. When people start parking more money in gold, then that opportunity also blows up. So these numbers just look good all the way around. And I guess I'll just say at this point, if you're not still not convinced that Bitcoin will go up, just take a minute to think about the changing global demographics. We are at a point where the next generation of wealth transfer is about to happen. We have millennials and Gen Zers who are literally born into the digital age with smartphones and tablets all around them. They've just never seen world without, digital. Now, these are the people that are going to be inheriting wealth from their parents, grandparents, and the previous generations. These are the people who are going to be making money in the future, and they are the ones who are going to be investing their money over the next 10, 20, 30 years. This is the generation. Now, this digital generation, where do you think they will, if they interact with everything digitally, including their money, do you think that they will invest their money in gold or a digital version of store of wealth or a digital gold, which is Bitcoin? It will be very natural for them to put their money in Bitcoin. So it is not far-fetched to imagine that Bitcoin can take over gold, or at least a significant chunk of gold from its use case as a store of value. And if you're looking at a long-term investment like 5 to 7 year time horizon, you really have to care about macro trends. You have to look at demographics. That's what's important. If you're looking to make a short trade, you want to buy today, sell tomorrow, then I don't need to look at, there is generational wealth transfer, millennials are coming, all that, because that plays out over a period of years to decades. But if you are a long-term investor, and Bitcoin is supposed to be a long-term investment, is at least how I look at it, these trends will take 5 to 7 years to play out, and there will be hyper digitization of the world. We all know it. That I don't have to explain to anybody. Every industry is getting impacted, and Bitcoin and blockchain are ready to disrupt the financial industry. Davis, you mentioned, right? This is a new financial revolution, and this is the beginning. One of the leading thinkers in the Bitcoin community, his name is Robert Breedlove. He just recently said that nobody can stop an idea whose time has come. Bitcoin is an idea. The time has come for Bitcoin because of this money printing that has happened, and just the pandemic has been the perfect backdrop. It has been the perfect catalyst because money printing has gone through the roof. And if you just look at the perspective, from a perspective standpoint, the money printing that we have is even higher than during World War II. US had a lower debt to GDP ratio during World War II. And you know how World War II changed the world. US became a global superpower as a result, and US dollar became the world's reserve currency. We are at a similar point, in even worse.
So Vishesh, thanks a lot. You have told me so many points today that I have a lot of things to read up on now. But it's interesting, like just the answer to why you're bullish on Bitcoin. There are so many tangents to it, and some of them are not even related to each other. And after listening to something like this, you have to spend your time studying Bitcoin, understanding why it is going to be big and how much you should invest, where you should invest, and all of that. And it's interesting. And just want to tell the audience, guys, जो भी अभी विशेष ने बोला, काफी points उसने cover किए कि बिटकॉइन का प्राइस ऊपर क्यों जाने वाला है. इनमें से कुछ पॉइंट्स ऐसे हैं जिनको और डिटेल में कवर करना पड़ेगा हमें, बिकॉज इट हैज सो मच डेप्थ टू इट. एंड वो हम बाकी के एपिसोड्स में करेंगे, प्रॉब्ली कुछ एपिसोड्स के बाद करेंगे जब हमने बेसिक्स वगैरह कवर कर लिया है. इस एपिसोड का यही पर्पस था, टू अंडरस्टैंड कि बिटकॉइन का प्राइस ऊपर क्यों जाएगा एंड व्हाट आर द फैक्टर्स जो लास्ट एक साल में हुए हैं जिसकी वजह से बिटकॉइन का प्राइस ऊपर गया है अभी. लेट अस बी क्लियर कि हम आपको क्रिप्टो करेंसीज में इन्वेस्ट करने को नहीं कह रहे हैं. हम बस इंफॉर्मेशन और हमारी ओपिनियन शेयर कर रहे हैं. अगर आपको क्रिप्टो करेंसीज में इन्वेस्ट करना है तो खुद से रिसर्च कीजिए और फिर इन्वेस्ट करिए. अगर आप हमें YouTube पर देख रहे हैं तो लेट मी टेल यू दैट वी आर ऑल्सो अवेलेबल ऑन पॉडकास्ट प्लेटफॉर्म्स लाइक Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Gaana and more. Link is there in the description.
You can reach out to us through any of our different social media channels. Details of all of them are below in the description.